Speaking of LeBron James, he said recently that Allen Iverson probably was pound for pound the greatest player of all time. Yesterday, AI, who hasn't played an NBA game since February 2010, held his official retirement press conference in Philly and said this.
I thought that once this day came, it would be basically a tragic day. I promise you, it is a happy day for me. You know, I really thought that this day would be a tough day for me, but it's a happy day. You know, my whole thing was just being me. And now, you know, when you look around, you see, you know, all the guys in the NBA, now all of them got tattoos. You know, all of them, you know, guys wearing cornrows. Now you see, you used to think that the suspect was the guy with the cornrows. Now you see the police officers with the cornrows.
Very funny. Allen Iverson uses the word tragic, however, Stephen A. What do you make of that comment?
Well, I think a lot of people hear the word tragic when it comes to Allen Iverson, and they think about him and obviously the numerous reports that have been bandied about pertaining to him, his quality of life, what's happened to his life since he hasn't been playing in the NBA in recent memory. Obviously, there are people that have had reasons for concern, myself included, but anybody that knows Allen Iverson loves Allen Iverson. I'm one of those people. It's popular as a journalist to sit there and spew objectivity and talk about, you know, how we're distant and apart from guys. Allen Iverson is my man. I love him. I love him dearly, and I'm always rooting for him, and I'm always wishing him the best. And you know, and I don't believe that I'm sitting in this position today, at least in some part, if it were not for him, my covering him, the level of access that he blessed me with when it pertained to his career, what he's meant to me as a reporter and ultimately as a friend. And I say that as an individual sometimes that have had to come down very, very hard on him simply because of things that were publicized and couldn't be hidden because it was out there for the world to see. Number two, because I had a job to do. Number three, and more importantly, because sometimes you take measures in an effort to save somebody from themselves because you see an unwillingness for them to do it themselves. But in the end, he's had a heart of gold. If there were any mistakes that he made, it was primarily him being loyal to a fault when it comes to loved ones, friends, family. If the sky is blue, but they told him it was green, even though he knew it was blue, he'd say it's green because he's rolling with them. He's that kind of a loyal cat. And when you look at his NBA career, 26.7 points per game, 4 scoring titles, taking the Philadelphia 76ers with that Rat Pat bunch to the NBA Finals against the Lakers. They don't run into Shaq and Kobe. Allen Iverson wins a world championship. Make no mistake about it. Arguably the greatest little man to have ever played this game. I don't care what anybody says. A first ballot Hall of Famer. Pound for pound, one of the greatest players that I've ever seen, but also a guy that had a heart of gold in a lot of situations that he was not given credit for. And when you look at some of the problems that people pertain to, I'm going to say this on national television. I'm not asking anybody. I'm telling anybody. All of these problems that have been, you know, talked about as it pertains to Allen Iverson, there's one big problem, and bigger than anything. And that's the fact that of all the stuff we've heard about the separation from his family. If his family was somehow able to get back together, Allen Iverson would be just fine. A matter of fact, Skip, I'd make a legitimate argument that, you know what, sit there, put a suit on, make sure you're ready to show up on time. He can come here and do this job and turn it out. He could turn it out. He would be an incredible addition to this network. The dude is special on so many ways, despite his flaws. I got love for him like a brother, and I always will.
Stephen A., you covered him for all those years through his heydays in Philly. Describe for our viewers just how big Allen was in those years in that city.
I don't think I can describe it any better than Larry Brown, the former head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, now down at SMU, who coached Allen Iverson his second year for about 6 seasons. We all know the back and forth they had with one another, but when I had my show, quite frankly, Allen Iverson came on that show and cried when I brought up Larry Brown, because no matter how much he loved him, it wasn't anything compared to how much he loved Larry Brown when he was gone. And it's because Larry Brown talked about what he meant to a culture of individuals. I mean, everywhere you went, whether it was tattoos, it was cornrows, and some of the things that, to be quite honest with you, even I think is excessive. He had that kind of impact on a generation of kids. A culture was not just changed, but defined by him, Skip. And the one thing people have to understand, Allen Iverson he didn't do it to be a maverick or whatever the case may be. The reason he did it was to show the world you can't just judge a book by its cover. Just because I have cornrows and just because I have tattoos doesn't mean I can't be great. Doesn't mean I can't go all out there and play every game like it's my last. Doesn't mean that I can't have a positive impact. Don't judge me by what you see. And more importantly, don't look at a generation of kids coming up and judge them based by the cover. Judge them, get to know them, learn the content of their character, and then go from there. Again, he's not flawless. Yeah. He's imperfect. We all know this. But there's a hell of a lot more good than there was bad in Allen Iverson. And the players in this league know that.
So back to Kerry's original question about the tragic quote. I watched the game, and during the game on the local Philly telecast that I was watching, they did an extended live interview with Allen. And I must tell you that even though he said that what he feared would be a tragic night turned into a happy night, the interview I saw extended, he was more sad than happy. I think it's hitting him hard, Stephen A. And I don't know him the way you do, certainly. I don't know him at all. But I do fear for him going forward that he finds his life after basketball at age 38. I think there's still some shock in him that it ended, that the NBA finally said no to him actually, 3 years ago? He's been a couple of years playing overseas now. That the NBA said, no, you have to go home, Allen. You can't play this game anymore. And it's so hard for many players to accept, especially for this player. And I agree with LeBron, pound for pound, greatest player ever. You want to talk about never taking a night off. You want to talk about playing your guts out every night, taking physical abuse the way maybe no player ever has taken it night after night after night, crashing the lane through the trees night after night. Now what? And as you said, I would love to see him at some network, this network, to find his footing in basketball with 1 foot in and 1 foot out as a commentator. Do something with your life other than wonder what happened to the great life you used to have when you dominated basketball in Philadelphia.
Well, we connected yesterday. He and I texted each other briefly before his retirement announcement, and he talked about how hard it was, but that he's in a happy place, as it pertains to his playing career. I think the thing that we need to consider is the fact that it wasn't just his playing career, but everything in his personal life combined with his playing career all seemed to snowball at one time. And that's a lot to overcome when you were once arguably the most celebrated athlete in the world. And so when you take that into consideration, it's a lot for him to deal with. But I'm not going to lie to you. I said to him yesterday, get this ain't the end. This is the beginning. Get yourself together. Come, try to come here and work. Put on a suit. Get ready. Start analyzing basketball. Break it down. Do some of those things. Listen, man, people who are around him, who know him, understand the good and the bad. We know the flaws and the imperfections, but by and large, we'll swear by him, man. And you can't find anybody that knows him that doesn't love him. And I'm one of those people, and I'm proud to say that. He's a special brother. He truly, truly is. Regardless of his flaws, he's a special brother. And I just hope that this is just the beginning and he realizes that. And ultimately, he gets his family back together, because if that happens, nothing will stop him. Skies is the limit. He'll be just fine. But it may take that.
All right. Not the end, just the beginning. Stephen A., thank you so much for that perspective. Coming up next.